Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today as we explore the dynamic world of political engagement. Today, we dive into the 5 levers of political will, pivotal tools that empower citizens to actively participate in the political process and foster positive change. Here's a glimpse of what we will discuss. Lobbying Congress, strategizing advocacy to influence legislative decisions, media relations, crafting narrative to amplify our cause through the media, grassroots outreach, encouraging community involvement at the fundamental level, grasstops engagement, leveraging endorsements and coalition building to forge influential alliances, and group development and organizing, which is building and nurturing cohesive groups to work toward common goals. So let's dive in, illustrating the purpose, goals, and interfaces of each lever, carving the pathway for a constructive change. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for being part of this journey. My name is Solemi Hernandez, and I'm Citizens Climate Lobby Southeast Regional Coordinator. My work is to support volunteers organizing to build political will in Florida, Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina, and South Carolina. I have been a community grassroots activist for many years here in Florida, advocating for the environment and the Everglades restoration. I have a bachelor's in political science from Florida Gulf Coast University, and I am the mother of 2 wonderful boys that are my motivation to do this work. Gigi?
Thanks, Salome. Hi, my name is Giovanna Santo, or Gigi for short, whatever you prefer. I am originally from Broward. My family recently moved there 2 years ago because my father's in the Air Force. We move a lot. But currently, I'm in Miami studying at FIU to be a political science major. I started volunteering with CCL in about 2022. And in that time, I eventually became the chapter leader of our Broward chapter. I also have the pleasure of being the liaison for Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz. But it's a fantastic organization, and I'm very happy to be talking to you guys about it today. Jeff?
Thanks, Gigi. My name is Jeff Dorian. I'm coming to you from Orlando, formerly of Broward County, where Gigi has taken my former position as chapter leader. And I'm retired now as a social worker and happy to be able to use my group organizing training to work with Citizens Climate Lobby, where I've been a member and a chapter leader since 2015. Let's get started by reviewing how CCL is organized. Citizens Climate Lobby is a volunteer-driven organization organized locally by chapters. The terms chapter and group are used interchangeably, but they mean the same thing. A group or chapter is a local team that's creating political will and clear evidence that citizens support action on climate change within a congressional district or state. Citizens Climate Lobby has hundreds of groups across North America. We also have chapters across Europe, Australia, Africa, Asia, and Central America. Each chapter has a group leader or a couple of co-leaders who help organize and coordinate the local activities of the group. Groups may be in varying stages of development. One group, for example, may have a person who is just getting the group started, and there are other more established groups that have dozens of members. If you're new to CCL, join us at cclusa.org/join and connect with your local chapter as soon as possible.
So let's jump into our mission at Citizens Climate Lobby. Many people are just familiar with our vision, to create the political will for a livable world. We know that politicians don't create political will. They respond to it. And that it's our job as constituents to create so much political will that politicians have no other choice but to do what we ask of them. Citizens Climate Lobby teaches constituents how to empower themselves, how to develop relationships with their representatives, so that we can help Congress see that there's political will for carbon fee and dividend legislation. We endeavor to show people that your voice can and will make a difference. Beyond that, we strive to enable individual breakthroughs in the exercise of personal and political power. What does this mean? A lot of buzzwords. Well, we've all had experiences in life when we discovered a newly found source of strength and inner ability to realize that through our active participation in our communities or in a cause, we could make a difference. Whether it was starting your own business, going back to school after a divorce, mentoring a young adult in your community. Think about one of those times in your lives when you realize that participating in something larger than yourself, you you were a collective part of a process that was making a difference. That's our mission here at CCL. So that kind of brings us into building political will, our vision, and kind of hand in hand with our mission. If we say our vision is to create political will, then I would like to clarify a little bit more on precisely what we mean by that. So you could kind of think of political will as actions our chapters strategically take to demonstrate to Congress that the will of the people is to have a sustainable climate. So what does that look like? Political will is really just a clear demonstration of support from back home. Legislators need to know that a specific actionable step, not simply that we want sustainable climate and a strong economy, but a specific step that they can take. They need to know of that. They want to hear what policies we want enacted so that they can act on the people's will. Being specific is kind of where our power comes from in communication. That's precisely what we'll get into in just a moment. But first, a bit more on why we use the methodology that we do. So we organize our people by congressional districts, which we found to be the most efficient way to meet with and demonstrate political will to Congress. And through our decade of organizing, we have learned from many others and about what creates political will and what does not. And here's why that's important. We know as volunteers, you are giving us something very, very precious, and that is your time. I know, Salemi and Jeff are very familiar with that. And we know that you don't have an infinite supply of time, and you could be doing many other things instead. So we only ask you as CCL volunteers to do the things that we know will have a very good chance of demonstrating the will of the people. We take actions that we know will be successful in having members of Congress move in the direction of the legislations that we are advocating. And then I would like to talk a little bit on our values. We often talk about, the CCL way of doing things, but what our Citizens Climate Lobby values. And this is pretty important because our values directly relate to our vision and our mission. So CCL recognizes 7 core values that are essential to our identity as an organization: integrity, focus, optimism, relationships, personal power, being nonpartisan, and finally, diversity. As Citizen Climate Lobby is growing so quickly, it's key that all of our thousands of supporters are on the same page. Our values are something we use to guide our decisions, how we respond to others, kind of like a home base that we know we can always return to, or a compass that we can use to always guide us in the right direction.
So following what Gigi was saying, now we're going to move into the 5 levers of political will, which are 5 core activities that our chapters leverage to bring citizens into the political process and create constructive change possible. Let's walk through each lever, describe the purpose, as we say before, the goals, and illustrate how they interface with each other. We have first lobbying Congress, we have media relations, we got grassroots outreach, grasstops engagements, endorsements and coalition building, and group development and organizing. First, we lobby Congress to help our members of Congress lead on climate solutions. In order to help the member of Congress grow in courage and commitment, we show them that the people want them to lead. The media, grassroots, and grasstops teams provide deliverables for the lobby team. The media committee provides letters to the editors, op-eds, and editorial page editors' endorsements of any bill we're advocating for. The grassroots teams rounds up emails, letters, and phone calls from constituents and help generate buzz in the community about the policies we're advocating for. The grasstops engagement committee secure endorsements in person or in writing of the bill from local respected influential leaders. Holding all this together is the group development committee, which orients new volunteers and help move people into leadership positions in the chapter. We endeavor to organize ourselves around these 5 levers to divide and accomplish. Which brings me to a question. Which of these levers most appeals to you? As we run through the levers in details, please take notes, listen to your inner guidance, and select the one you like the most. It's perfectly fine if you don't like them, or you can really connect with any one of them. For now, find one that you might like to learn a little more about it, or one that you can lend your personal experience to help others to grow.
First, there's lobbying, our signature event. Nothing is more impactful than citizens meeting frequently with their members of Congress or their staff. Before I was with CCL, I could never imagine doing something like this. We meet with them often in order to build a relationship of trust and show them that the legislations we are advocating for is something their constituents want, and to educate them on how our proposal will impact their state or district. In a chapter, 4 to 5 volunteers aim to meet regularly with their member of Congress and or their staff. We lobby twice a year. Every June in DC, there is a transformational and empowering experience, and virtually or in district in November. In between meetings, there's a special volunteer called a CCL congressional liaison who checks in frequently with congressional offices. The activities in the other levers provide deliverables to demonstrate interest, concern, and desires from the district or state. Lobbying is the most highly leveraged activity we can do. A CCL liaison is someone who's the representative for CCL or our point person when the group contacts a congressional staffer. There are some 535 members of Congress, and our goal is to have a personal liaison for each of those offices and their staff. The liaisons build ongoing relationships with their members of Congress and their staff by maintaining regular personal contact and by coordinating the group's meetings and communication with that office. A chapter leader in Miami once told me, if you know who your member of Congress is, you're doing pretty good. If they know who you are, then you're really doing something. So having this relationship can be anything from sending a card when your member experiences a significant event, updating the office with timely resources related to climate change, or even inviting the staff to a local barbecue. We're working on a complex issue, climate change. So having one consistent point of contact with the office of each member of Congress makes our process of communicating about climate change and our solution much more effective. The liaison is the representative for the CCL chapter, and the liaison has the goal of moving that member of Congress towards supporting strong climate policies. Here's an important point of clarification. Even though we have liaisons, each CCL volunteer is encouraged to personally write and call their member of Congress and do so frequently. And so let me put a link in the chat in the notes for how to do that. Here's one last important point on our relationship with members of Congress's office and the confidentiality we expect from our volunteers. It's essential that we don't repeat outside or share by way of notes or emails what we hear in our meetings. We leave it to the member of Congress, even if they are vocally enthusiastic, to make their own public statements about climate, and we trust our members to maintain confidentiality. Bottom line, whether it's a seemingly casual question about policy details or any other private comments, it's critical to train ourselves to respect what is said in confidence. When we consistently demonstrate we can be trusted in this way, it then opens the door for deeper conversations that can move the member forward. So let me.
Thank you, Jeff. To connect to build those relationships of trust, let's explore the CCL concept of looking for common ground. Because finding common ground is the key to any long-term relationship. And long-term relationships are what CCL is all about. Building a long-term relationship with members of Congress and their staff are critical for our success. Here is the good news. We absolutely convinced that we can find common ground with anyone. When we look for common ground, we start in three places. We look for shared values, we look for social connections, and we look at the places we love and care about. Regarding shared values, it can start on the most simple level. If you have kids, consider that most members of Congress have kids and are concerned about the future as well. So during meeting introduction, mention your kids, grandkids, cousins, nephews, you name it. Other examples of shared values include one's religious belief, general outlook like a safe and prosperous future, energy, independence, and freedom of choice. It's always productive to find out where you overlap with those common values. And when you and your member of Congress or the staff find them, for example, you share the same religion or the same college, make sure you keep emphasizing the connections in your interaction. On social connections, we learn about the people we meet with in advance. For members of Congress, we find out about former jobs, schools, clubs, and interests. You can do the same with ACE, although it's a little bit more difficult, but right now we have LinkedIn, and you can look for them in there. One way to do this for anyone in the meeting is just add, and to learn a little bit more about the member of Congress, is just ask the aide or staffer to tell you a little bit more about themselves. This is not just being polite. There are many things we really want to know. If there's a hometown or college connection with someone on our lobby team, we are going to make that connection. That's how you build a long-term relationship, and it relaxes the people we meet with, and it gets them talking about themselves instead of us lecturing them. Lastly, common ground can also be literally a patch of the ground on this earth, a place we love, or the member of Congress or staffer love. We found that no matter who we talk to, people love their home community and the work passionately.
All right. So I'd like to tell you guys a little bit about the second lever of political will, which is media. We work with both print and digital media in order to drive the conversation towards climate solutions. Our local chapters and media teams coordinate with the local media, newspapers, TV, radio, social media, you name it. They write letters to the editors, and many letter writers graduate to op-eds. CCL volunteers secure editorial page endorsements. When a newspaper that endorsed a member of Congress also endorses a bill we are advocating for, it sends a powerful message to that member of Congress. We've got your back if you support that bill, which is, as a politician, very valuable. So let's go to the next lever, grassroots. Our grassroots efforts help to give a voice to those who care about climate. A 2019 study from the Yale Program on Climate Communication said that 2/3 of Americans 66% are at least somewhat concerned about climate change. We want to bring those 2/3 of voices to Congress. When CCL volunteers set up tables at festivals and events, we get a chance to talk to others about climate change and encourage people to write to their member of Congress right there at the table. Some will sign up to be on CCL's email list, which could lead them to join a local chapter. Some of you may even have found us from a local tabling event.
Members of Congress consistently tell us that they need to hear from local respected leaders. These are sometimes referred to as grasstops. So now we have grassroots and grasstops. Our members of Congress trust these people and turn to them for advice and guidance. Individual voices of local leaders make a disproportionate impact on a member of Congress. That's why we seek their support, to encourage our members of Congress to act on climate and to endorse CCL's policy areas. The CCL's policy areas change over time depending on what's happening in Congress, and currently our number one policy is carbon pricing. CCL advocates for a carbon fee and dividend with a carbon border adjustment mechanism to lower emissions and deliver abundant and affordable clean energy to Americans. This is a policy that's being used by over 70 countries worldwide. Healthy forests. CCL supports preserving and expanding forests and climate-smart forestry, as well as advocating for increasing urban forests with a focus on neighborhoods that are negatively impacted by lack of tree equity. Building electrification and efficiency. CCL will educate the public and elected leaders on the importance of electrification and efficiency and how they can accelerate the transition to clean energy buildings with attention to supporting low and middle income households and transition. And this has become an important issue since the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act. And finally, clean energy permitting reform. We also work to increase America's capacity to transmit clean energy and speed up the approval of clean energy projects while preserving communities' abilities to give input. Finally, the last lever for building political will is developing your local chapter. Developing your chapter at the grassroots level in terms of both numbers and skills is what allows us to lobby more effectively, to generate more media, and to do outreach. Some ways you could help here include helping to organize the monthly meetings, helping with chapter communications, invitations by way of phone calls, emails, and social media events, and also inviting new people to your meetings or mentoring some of our newer members is always a huge contribution. Our director, Mark Reynolds, says, we are betting the ranch on relationships, and that includes the relationships we have with each other in our chapters. Salemi?
Thank you, Jeff. Another thing about working and organizing in 5 levers is that if one is stuck, we can actually pull harder on some of the other levers. For example, you have met with your member of Congress several times, and they agree that the carbon fee and dividend is an effective policy. However, they will not support this proposal until there is support from the primary voters or from businesses in the district. In this example, to demonstrate the support that the member of Congress needs, it makes sense to ramp up outreach to businesses and or community leaders, and also to broaden your local vocal base of support. What we're trying to do here, it's not going to be easy, but citizens who are passionate, well-trained, organized by congressional district, and who have a good support system can more than influence the political process. We are committed to be ongoing positive relationship with our community and with members of Congress in order to create the political space that allows these members of Congress to move in the direction we want. So let's do a quick poll. And please use the chat if you're eligible. And think about these 5 levers to tell us which is your favorite lever of political will. And the way to think about these 5 levers of political will is like a menu. You go to a restaurant and you don't order everything on the menu. You just order whatever you like the most. So determine where would you like to grow, which brings us to the question, which of these levers is more attracted to you? So what's next? Start by being part of the solution and a climate advocate right away. We know that you're ready to get to work, so we made a simple tool to email your members of Congress. And if you're ready to take action, then go to the chat and type yes, let us know. And we love, so let's go ahead and type in our browser or in our phone, cclusa.org/action. And that is going to take you to a screen where it's going to ask you about your information to determine who is your representative, your member of Congress. And go ahead and do that. So I'm going to give you a little time for you to go in your phone or in your browser. And it's super simple, cclusa.org/action. Put your information to determine who is your representative, and it will send an email to your member of Congress asking them to take action on climate. So I'm going to give you a few more seconds for you to do this. And once you do this, please do spread the word on social media. There is a share button that you can press once you finish writing your member of Congress. And thank you so much for taking action with us. And now another thing that you can be part of the solution and join us. We are getting ready to have our fall virtual conference followed by a lobby day, virtual lobby day. This is going to be November 4th and 5th. So please save the day. We hope to see you there.
If you are interested in continuing in your learning process with CCL, we host a weekly core volunteer training that is the next step to finding out more about CCL's programs. This is a series of 12 rotating lessons on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and each lesson drills down into a specific topic, whether that be letters to the editors, social media, storytelling, climate science, etc. And how you can connect these themes, take your climate leadership to the next level with CCL. We are growing by leaps and bounds over here, and our goal is to support you in this important work. So contact us if you need help. We'll do our best to help you or direct you, and if we can't, we'll find you someone who can. Salemi is going to drop a link in the chat right now where you can access these core trainings. So if you're interested, definitely take a look at it. So I'd like to finish off our session by sharing a quote with you guys from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, who was an environmentalist. And she said, "Be a nuisance where it counts. Do your part to inform and stimulate the public to join your action. Be depressed, discouraged, and disappointed at failure and the disheartening effects of ignorance, greed, corruption, and bad politics, but never give up." You know, that really applies with CCL. That's what we do here. So that's about it. Thank you everybody so much for coming. We all hope that you gained something from this, found something you might be interested in, or just found a way to scratch that itch of wanting to do something about this issue. If you want to contact any of us, of the Florida coordinators or the South Regional Coordinator, You can contact Jeff at the first email, Salemi, our Southeast Regional Coordinator, at the second email, and our other Florida coordinator, Lisa Ruckman, at the third. And that's about it. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Gigi. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you soon. And please join our movement.